The NBA has evolved, and it might be ruining the game of basketball. If you take a quick look at shot charts for NBA teams now versus 5 and 10 years ago, you will see a dramatic shift. We all know that the three-point shot has changed everything for teams over the past decade, beginning with those fantastic Steph and Klay Golden State Warriors teams, all the way up to the modern-day Boston Celtics, and at first, it was really cool. Once the Warriors won a title in 2015 with what most people believed was a style that simply wasn't capable of winning playoff games, aka jump shooting team.
Everyone around here wants to know, the first question is obvious, right? Why do you hate the Golden State Warriors?
You know what's interesting? I've been on television for 16 years, and I've said the exact same thing for 16 years. I'm not big on jump shooting teams.
Everybody else took notice, and now with the Celtics, it's happening all over again. If you take a look at average three-point attempts over the years league-wide, you can see an obvious increase in three-point attempts, which makes sense. But here is the bigger issue. It isn't about just teams taking more threes. It's what percentage of NBA teams' shots are now three-point attempts, with that number climbing up over 40% in the modern NBA compared to under 40% and nearly 26% 5 and 10 years ago, respectively. That increase has caused everyone to realize that we have finally hit the breaking point on three-point attempts, to the point that many people were wondering not only if this is a bad thing for the league, but if they should go as far as to change the rules to prevent it. Now, there's a few main reasons why this is a problem. First, style of play. 10 years ago in the NBA, there used to be different ways to play the game. Some teams had bruising post players, some ran a bunch of isolation for their stars, some played fast in transition from offense to defense, and others, like the Warriors, leaned heavily into three-point shooting volume. That was what made the Warriors so much fun. It wasn't just that they were shooting a bunch of threes, it's that they were playing a different way. A ton of movement, great shooters, facilitating from the elbows and the post with Draymond. When you turned on a Warriors game, you knew you'd be watching basketball be played completely differently than other teams in the league. But now, when was the last time you watched a couple of NBA games in one night and thought, wow, this team plays so much differently than the others? To me, the Denver Nuggets used to be and kind of still are that team, with Jokic at the center of everything and all the movement happening around him. Back cuts to the rim, split screens on the side, inverted pick and rolls, they looked unique. It's also worth noting in the context of this discussion that over the last 2 years, including the year that the Nuggets won the title, they finished in the bottom 5 of three-point attempts in the regular season. But other than that, pretty much everybody plays the same way. Maybe their stars look different, like Embiid and Philly in the mid-post, or Giannis running guys over on his way to the rim, but that's just one player on a team. As a team, everything looks the same. The floor is spaced out, you have a pick and roll at the top, and then it's just read and react from there, with the ideal possession ending in an open three. Which is a good thing to keep in mind with the sponsor of today's video, Prize Picks. My favorite part about Prize Picks is all the different promotions. They've got Taco Tuesday, they've got different kinds of promotions going out every single Friday during the NBA. There's always something new happening on Prize Picks. And right now you can get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup on Prize Picks when you use code SPORTING or click the link in the description. If you don't know how to play Prize Picks, all you do is you go on the site and they have all these numbers set for each of these players, and you simply pick more or less for each of them. However you think the game is going to go, whether you like the matchup, whether you like how a player is played against a different player in the past, you just pick more or less for each. You've got so many options. You can do three-pointers made, you can do assists, you can do defensive stuff with blocks plus steals, you can do turnovers, and you put together a selection like this one right here, and if you are correct, you win some cash. And again, you can keep an eye out for those promotions. You can click the link in the description to get $50 instantly when you place your first $5 lineup with code SPORTING, and thank you again to Prize Picks for sponsoring this video. A complete lack of unique play styles in the NBA is a massive issue right now, and it mostly stems from the obsession with three-point shooting. Imagine if every time you watched an NFL game, every team threw 50 times a game out of the exact same formation. That would get boring eventually. That is essentially what has happened in the NBA over the last decade. And that results in the second problem with this, and arguably the biggest one. The NBA is a pretty terrible TV product right now. It isn't just the lack of unique teams, it's the lack of unique plays. If you took a random play from every NBA team that played on a given night and put it all together, they'd all look the same. Not to mention that the three-point shooting has just gotten a little bit boring. Yeah, it was cool when Steph and Klay were doing it, or other guys started getting really good at hitting pull-up threes, but now I'm watching Royce O'Neal shoot 7 wide-open threes a game, and his team is hoping that he hits 3 of them. At that point, what's the point? Especially if the route that the team takes to get there is the exact same as every other team. Pick and roll, drive and kick, read and react.
Players now play accidental basketball, and it drives me and Phil crazy because it's all penetrating pitch. You may make the shot, you may not. You have no idea who's going to be open or whatever. It's accidental basketball.
Now, that isn't to say that I don't enjoy watching the NBA. I still love it, but I'm a basketball junkie, a basketball sicko. This is my job. I don't mind watching 10 games in a night. I still really enjoy the product. But the league isn't trying to cater to me. It's trying to cater to the largest audience possible, and this style of play just doesn't do that. But here's the real issue. I can make all the arguments I want to, but that doesn't mean that anything is going to change. The teams don't care about the TV product. They don't care about how exciting it is to watch. Coaches and players don't get extensions based off of how fun it is to watch their team. They are evaluated based off of only one thing: winning. And right now, shooting more threes is essential to winning games. The team that most exemplifies this at the moment is the Boston Celtics, who since Joe Mazzulla took over have really taken the three-point shooting volume thing to a new extreme. Last season, the Celtics led the league in threes made, attempted, and were second in three-point percentage, and 47% of their shots on the season were from three-point range. That shot profile led them not only to an NBA title, but they were also the most dominant team in the league from start to finish. Every time you play the Celtics, the game comes down to a math problem. They shoot so many threes that there is a point at which you just cannot win. They're arguably the most talented team in the league, and if they shoot 50 threes and make 20 and you don't make enough to match them, you just lose. Now, there are still games where they only make 10 and it comes back to hurt them because they're shooting so many threes out of their total shots, but way more often than not, it works for them. This is why we're seeing teams like the Suns, Lakers, and even the Nuggets and others trying to find ways to get more threes up, changing their offenses around, simply trying to get more volume from three. Because if they don't, they simply don't have a chance. The shot quality isn't even what's important to them. They just need to shoot more threes to compete. And I don't blame them for doing so. That is, mathematically, the ideal way to play NBA basketball. It doesn't matter if it's boring to some people or if everyone plays the same. It's simply the best way to win. And that is the ultimate incentive for NBA teams. If threes were worth 2.5 points instead of 3, I bet they'd be taking away less, but that just isn't the case. Which leads people to an inevitable question. No, the question isn't, is this a problem? We know that it is. The question is, how do we fix it? Well, the short answer is, there would have to be a significant rule change. As currently constructed, the rules incentivize NBA teams to prioritize getting a three-point shot every single possession over anything else. And as time goes on, this problem will likely get worse, not better. Honestly, if the Celtics take half their shots from three this season, I would not be surprised at all. And in 5 or 10 years, that might be the new normal across the league if this trend continues. So how do you fix it? Well, honestly, I'm not really sure. Apart from literally lowering the point value of a three, there aren't many reasonable solutions. And this isn't the only problem that the NBA has like this. We talked the other day about load management and stars missing games being a problem that the NBA will struggle to solve simply because there is a competitive advantage to be gained by having your stars be as healthy as possible in the playoffs, and the three-point shooting stuff is the exact same way. This is a problem. It will probably continue to get worse, and until they lower the competitive advantage to be gained from shooting and making more threes, this is a problem that is here to stay.